All right, gentlemen, welcome to this bonus call. This is part two of the interview that we're doing with Michael Skye. Michael and I met actually at the same time. I met Alex in Malaga 2018, and we connected very much over our quest for honor and at the same time our hunt for aliveness, following our hearts and our body's desires. It took us to Bucharest. It took us to Kenya. It's been an unreal experience. And Michael has been mentoring me also in business. And we're forging our friendship. And also I'm getting to know him better and his work better. He has decades of work in honor. And he's rekindling that as we speak. And part of that was actually part one of the interview we did last week, where he told his story. If you have not heard it yet, go and find part one of this interview. It's quite remarkable, both in its content and in the way that Michael finds a way to do storytelling. It's a lesson in itself. Very beautiful. Go and watch it. Today is part two, and we did it in two parts because it took way longer than we wanted to. And in this call, what we would like to do is go into more a practical exercise that will show you the power of having a clear vision. The power of vision, the power of honor, the power of making a stand, the power of honoring the commitments that we make. And so I asked you all to come with your answer to the question, what are you dreaming of in the land of women? So if you have not done so, get it ready, because it will be step one of a 5-step process that Michael is going to guide us through. Does anyone have questions before we start? In that case, I shall give the floor to Mr. Skye. Go ahead, sir. You have to unmute your microphone, Michael.
I've lost my voice. Yeah, in our interview, Hans, I tell a story of in third grade, I was dared to put this tack on the fat girl's chair, and, I did it. Teacher called me up in front of the room, and she's confronting me in front of the whole class, and she's like, "Why did you do something like that?" And I had no words. I had no voice. And, it's been a long journey for me to find my voice, but all I had to do this time was hit the unmute button. Yeah, so anyway, like I imagine you guys, the quest to be better, to become a great man, to be better with women, to be great in relationships, has been a lifelong quest myself. And I was someone who, not only did I have no voice, no ability to speak, I was incredibly shy. And I had no social skills. Hans mentioned something about me telling a good story. I could not tell a story to save my life in the beginning. And over the years, I developed, Hans referred to my honor work. One of the biggest problems really of it's of human beings, of human consciousness, and in my own consciousness as well. It's like, why is it so difficult for us to have certain dreams or values or things that we say are important to us or that we want, right? Whether that's becoming a certain kind of man or becoming good with women or whatever it is, starting a business or stopping smoking or starting a new habit. Why is it so difficult for us to say that we want something, that we're going to do it, and then to follow through and actually just do it? Like, why? It sounds, if you think about it, why should that be so difficult, right? But it actually is extremely difficult for human beings to change behavior or to evolve, to really become who we want to be or create what we want to create in the world. Human beings can send nuclear missiles around the globe and blow the planet to smithereens. We can fly to the moon. We can, cell phones talk instantly. But if we say we're going to start running every morning, we might not even do it tomorrow morning. We might stop after a week. So it's like as brilliant as we are, there's like this huge gap in our human guidance system. And I just wanted to mention, I don't know if Hans has brought it up yet, but I just wanted to offer my free ebook that I wrote 18 years ago. It was based on a speech I presented in Las Vegas on this very problem to a futurist conference. And I turned it into an ebook, and there's a little love story involved there. Guys, sorry. Hang on one second. Sorry, Hans. If you just hit the pause button, I got to deal with this. Otherwise, they're going to keep ringing. All right. Are we recording, Hans? Okay. Sorry about that, fellas. So anyway, the free ebook is called Awakening the Wealth Warriors. It deals with this problem of human guidance system, and it dives deep into like what's at the root of our lack of power to follow through and just be creators in our lives. And also, I'll mention at the outset, there's 2 more resources for you guys. And it's the first 2 modules of a program that I used to lead based on the forces of consciousness that I call honor and vision. And, if you want to go deeper into what we talk about on this call, then those are great resources, and there's more as well. But so, as I just want to bring you guys present, maybe actually we can have you guys just sound off. Just say something. I find it's important on a call like this to not just have the speaker just go on and on and on, and then people feel like that they're not heard or they're not participating. So I'd actually like to hear from you guys on some level. And let's think about this. Normally when we set out to do something, there's 2 basic steps that we do. One is we dream or we plan, or we create some idea of what we want. Right? Create some idea of what we want, and then we make a plan to do it. Those are like the 2 things. We create a dream of what we want, and then we make a plan, and then we go do it. In this call, however, we're going to put 3 more steps in the middle, and here's why. When you start off with that thing that you want or that you say you want, you might be feeling right now that I want it, but then you wake up tomorrow and you're facing the problems of tomorrow, or the resistance of tomorrow, or the stress of the daily life of tomorrow, and all of a sudden you don't feel like doing what you felt like doing yesterday. And it's this problem of it's like there was this person who you were yesterday who said that he wanted this, but then there's how you feel right now. And it's almost like a dual. There's our consciousness is split in 2. And it's really difficult to be powerful and follow through when we have that going on. So, but anyway, so what we're going to do first, we're just going to start with that idea. If you guys can just say your name and say something about what you want or what your dream is, maybe in relation to this course or life or whatever, that'll be a great starting point.
I'll start. So yeah, my name's Alex. Everybody here knows me. Some of the guys have seen little bits of the snippets of the life that I want with women in the last couple of weeks, actually, through some of the posts and experiences that I've had. And that is about living a life of strong and intense romantic adventures with really vibrant and gorgeous and powerful women from all over the world. And I would really like to cultivate sort of very inclusive relationships with them while not always being there in person. That's the basic outlines.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for sharing, Alex. Let's each one of us chime in. Enrique.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. Yeah. I think my vision in regard to this is like, first of all, just being able to go up and approach the women that I'm interested in, and also like one, having great relationships, like giving that masculine energy to women, being able to sort of like keep that in the relationship as well. Since I've been in a relationship that broke, so I'm really interested in that as well. So that's sort of my vision of what I want to achieve from this course.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, so I'm Hans, and I would like to live in abundance, both with women and with money, with any kind of resource. And then from that abundance, I would like to co-create my tribe of people that are my allies, that I can be inspired by, and that I want to be generous with.
Great. Yeah. You know, as Hans has shared, you know, for each of us with the dreams that we have, there's a lot of things that could come up along the way to stop us. And most of these things are feelings. They're things inside of us to where we don't feel like taking the action required to follow through. So most of the things are not things out there in the world. They're things on the level of our feelings. But the bigger the dream is, the more of these different things that could come up and stop us and cut us off from realizing those dreams. Matthias, would you like to share as well?
Okay, now, so I understood the question of Hans, what do you dream about, quite literally today. And so I'm going to share what's the content of my daydreams that keep coming up over and over again with regards to women. So what I often daydream about is becoming intimate, also physically intimate with women more, and usually with women I know, like thinking of specific women that I find particularly attractive. I'm also thinking over and over again about taking trips with a beautiful lady lover accompanying me. So this is like something that is really special to me, doing all these trips that I want to do, and preferably with a female lover accompanying me. Regarding sexuality, I have this idea of being like a lover and friend at the same time, having women feel really relaxed and comfortable, because I think that's one of my strengths that I already have, but also sexual, and that they would also explore their sexuality with me because they trust me and they like me as a lover. And so there's like a more of a quality over quantity idea in the background, and also that my biggest strength is probably not to be like the provocative bad boy, even though that's something to incorporate, but more the guy that women can relax with and feel aroused at the same time.
Great. Yeah, it's I'm here in Africa right now, and it's not so. I would say it's not so difficult for maybe us in the West, or especially Americans. We talk a lot about dreams and like what we want to create and all this sort of thing. But I know in some cultures, even, or some families, it's almost taboo to even just say what you want. And I know for myself, like when I started traveling, one of the things I started hunting was like my desire. I want to actually be honest with myself about what I really want, because sometimes it's taboo. I allow myself to feel it, and then speak it with others and act on it. And so, yeah, just speaking it sometimes and having it heard by others, it can be powerful. All right. I see Nate and Narcisse, but they don't have their videos. I don't know if you guys want to share. If you do, go ahead and unmute. Nate. Nate the Great.
I'll turn it on for
Great.
the share.
Can't hear you, although I see your.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, so my dream, man, actually,
For me, Nate's audio is frozen. What about you guys?
Jesus. Okay. Sorry. How about now?
I can hear now.
Okay. Yeah, the Wi-Fi in my company blocks us, so I have to be outside. So yeah, just to keep it short, yeah, I just want to be the guy that can, bring the real woman out of her and be, I want to be a polyglot. I know 4 languages now, but my dream is to be fluent in 10 languages in the next 10 years. So that's my dream.
Wow, 10 languages.
Yeah. I could do it.
I share a similar dream. I speak a few languages, but 10 in 10 years, that's a big one.
Yeah.
All right, Narcisse. Or Narci, depending on where you're from.
Narcisse is in class and he cannot speak.
All right. So he does not get to have a dream. Joking. All right. So, so we have these ideas of what we want, and then we can, part of our plan could be like take Hans' course, go out and make a plan, the to-do list, and then go out and take action. But we're going to pause on that approach and just put 3 more steps in, okay? And the first is what I call facing your mountain. Facing your mountain, all right? And this, for people who are maybe really into things like the law of attraction or The Secret or whatever, this might be a bit of a challenge here because what this is, it's actually going to be facing and feeling everything that could stop you, everything that could come up along the way that could have you feel something that could stop you. So, a lot of these things we don't really face before we head out on some journey or for some goal or some quest. And then once the feelings come up, they stop us, right? But the idea is now is face it ahead of time, all right? So imagine that our dream is to make it to the top of, let's say, Mount Everest or some epic mountain, right? Your dream with the things you just voiced are at the top of this mountain. All right, now, how many things could go wrong climbing that mountain, right? I mean, you break an ankle, right? And you feel pain, you feel like a failure, you have thoughts of giving up, right? Like that's something that could come up. Maybe there's a wild animal on the mountain. It's making noises at night and it's bringing up fear, right? It could have you turn back. Just the stress of the physical pain alone of just climbing, the thin air could have you fearing for your life, possibly. Maybe I won't make it, right? So there's many things. So what this next step is, we're not going to have time to do this on this call, but we're going to kind of lay out these 3 steps so that you can do this after the call or, on your own time. But the idea is list each of the things that could happen that could come in the way of your dream. And then for each of those things, list the feelings that you might feel that could stop you. Okay, so Nate was talking about learning 10 languages in 10 years. Maybe 5 years goes by and he hasn't even learned one more language, right? So like that could be the thing that happens, and then he could be feeling shame and guilt about that, and then just let go of the dream altogether, right? Like if he or make up that it's not possible for me or something, like that's something that could get in the way, and then there's something that he feels about it. Does that make sense? So, you want to get great with, approaching the beautiful woman that you see. Obviously, let's say you go out and you have a goal that I'm going to do this many this week, right? And a few days go by and you're not doing it, or comes up, you're afraid, or you see her and she's too beautiful, and then you feel fear and you stop. List all those things, all those possible things that could get in the way, and the feelings that you might feel. And the intention is, by the time that you've faced your mountain, you might actually be like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like I'm not even sure that it's worth going for because it's daunting. Like, you know, this is I don't even know if I'm up for this, right? That's when you accomplish this next step, facing your mountain. Is that you don't have any questions about that, or what's maybe unclear about that? Maybe we could get an example or two from you guys. Like, what's something that could come up for you?
Like, I was hearing your thing, and I couldn't see, like, I could hear how that would instantly look like obstacles. And in my dreams, I don't see obstacles. I see what comes up for me is first, like, that it would go slow or too slow, or that maybe what I really want is not even out there.
So it's going too slow, and then you start feeling what?
It's like, okay, like it would go too slow, and then I could sense feelings of like, well, it's not there. Or I could have feelings of like being content with where I am already. Like, oh, it's okay. You know, there's like, yeah.
Yeah, a contentment which might have you give up on the dream of, like, maybe you want it to happen in 1 year or 2 years, and you want it to be epic, and you want to show up in a way that, like, there's no limits, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it goes too slow and then you start feeling resigned or just okay about it, you know, that could actually impede your dream, right? Hans, if we can pick on you one more time. I've heard you express, and you've expressed in the group about, like, a frustration at times, like, you know, you really want this group of men to step forward and show up powerfully, and sometimes you feel maybe unmet with that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that happened certainly in the past, yes.
And then what's the feeling that comes up when you're present to that?
Frustration, anger, disappointment, loneliness.
Great.
Yeah. Abandonment.
Yeah, it's deep. Now you get how all those things, you know, if there's enough frustration, you really putting yourself out there and you're not being met, and then putting yourself out there, not being met, putting yourself out there, not being met. At some point you could start compromising how powerfully you show up, and you could start compromising how powerfully you challenge guys, and you could start just accepting a lesser dream. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Because I see that's how I do it to keep myself from going insane, is like to readjust my dream. Like I like what you said at the end. By the time you faced the mountain, it should become daunting. And I know I have a tendency to not go to that place where it's like, then I would not make it daunting. I would shift it and say, okay, I'll get there when I get there. You know, I'll keep going at it, but maybe not now, and it will be later. And I can see I would do that to keep myself happy. And I don't know if but that is the daunting task for me, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, so the idea would be here to list all those things and then allow yourself to feel those things as well, Hans, the anger, the frustration, right? And to write all this down so you can face it clearly. And the facing and the feeling is the first step towards generating this really powerful force of honor that we've not really talked about yet, but that I talked a bit about in my interview if you watched it, and also you'll see in one of those audios I mentioned in the force of honor. So let's get one more person to just chime in. What's something that could come up, and then if it happened and you'd felt a certain way that could really slow your progress or make you even have to start to give up? Alex.
I feel like a conflict or a competition with the other things that I have, the other ambitions that I have in my life. Perhaps my work is for mostly work actually, is not compatible with that sort of lifestyle, and I have to give up on one or the other to pursue it.
Okay, so for example, if we just kind of hone this down, like what happens is people at work are asking so much of you, and you're feeling like stress and feeling like you don't have time for
that's
these
one
other
part,
goals or dreams of yours.
One part, or that I have a job which fixes me in one place and might not be an ideal place, and frustrates my desire to explore the world and create those connections, and I get bogged down in the work in that place.
Great. And then the feelings. So you want to presence the feelings, like if that happened.
If that happened, I think I would feel a very conflicting sense of wonder, always having a nagging sense in the back of my mind, or what else could I be doing right now? And the effect it has on me is a general sense of distraction and scatteredness and frustration. My mind is always off thinking about other things, and I don't feel fully at ease with the choices I've made.
Which could really impact your power to follow through on those dreams, right?
Mm.
So that's great. So these are great examples. These are great examples. So again, this step, facing your mountain, you're there when you're feeling like, holy shit, I don't even know if I want to do it. You know, like it's daunting. It's epic. All right. So then once you're feeling that, you face that, you're feeling that, go to the next step. And this is the second step towards generating a powerful feeling of honor. Okay. And it's finding for yourself what's worth standing for, to face all of that. And you can think about it like this. Is there something worth standing for, to where even if I failed to make it to the top, it would be worth standing, facing everything on that mountain, to be the one who stands for this outcome, or stands for these people, or stands for this vision. If you think about you think about the invading armies are coming, right? And your family's in the house. And are you going to go out on the battlefield and meet and confront the invading armies before they come to your family, right? Now, you might have a dream of being like a great protector for your family, like that's your dream. And then the invading armies are coming and it's like, holy shit, you're afraid, and you don't end up being that guy. You stay in the house, right? So the idea here is like presencing what could be worth standing for. And if we use that kind of that warrior metaphor, might be worth standing for being the one who is willing to give his life so that his children can live, or so that his family can be free. Might be worth standing for being an example of being a man of honor or a warrior for your people. So, and what you're noticing here, what you're wanting to succeed with this step, you want to have this feeling where it's like, there's like a sense of power that opens up inside of you, a sense of warmth, like your heart is really flowing, and it's like this yes, and you might even get tears coming to your eyes. Hans, remind me, and I'll share the video of my current business partner. Let me share this example really quick. He when I met him about a year and a half ago, he was morbidly obese. He had diabetes, neuropathy. he'd already had a heart attack. He was isolated. He had no women in his life. He was really at the end of his rope. Another heart attack, he could die. If we didn't turn things around, I mean, it was looking pretty hopeless for him, and he was pretty hopeless. He had dreams. We talked about dreams. He had dreams, but he'd had dreams for years. They were not enough to get him to turn his life around. And I worked with him with this honor work, and for him, what was worth standing for was his mountain. I mean, imagine reversing diabetes and obesity and everything that would entail. I mean, it's when you've been unable to do it for 20 years, when you've got no family support, when you've even got no hope almost. How many challenges could get in the way of you accomplishing that vision? And for him, like, what was worth standing for to take this on, and also to take on filming a documentary series about his own journey, which we did, was really simple. And it was this: just the idea of one person getting up off the couch, walking down the street, taking one action, and getting some help for their life and finding some hope. It was so simple, but it made him like start to cry that he could just make a difference with one person. And that was enough to see him all the way through. It was so emotional for him. And the emotion is this feeling of honor that I talk about that's extremely powerful. Again, we're not really talking about it much on this call, but it's in those other resources. And, a year later, he'd lost about 100 pounds. He'd reversed his diabetes, and he had two amazing conscious women fighting to be the one that he picked. It was an impossible outcome from the man he was and the place he started with. It was impossible. There's no way. If someone could have told him that was even possible for him, there's no way he would have believed it. And from my perspective, it's the power of honor and vision that makes something that you can't even see for yourself as possible able to obtain. And okay, so it was a year later, or almost a year later, maybe only about 8 months after he started transforming his life. And he wanted to take on a challenge. So he's going to go climb Mount Rainier, which is like a glacier. It's like the biggest glacier in North America, I think, or the U.S. It's up in Washington State. This is like a 4 or 5 day climb through ice and snow, and the guy can't even feel the feeling in his feet, and one of his feet doesn't even lift up when he tries to lift it up, and it's really an insane idea, I think, for him to try to do that at this point in his journey. But it was his birthday. He's feeling strong. He wants to prove to himself he can do it. First day, it was okay. Second day, morning, he wakes up and he called me. I was actually in Kenya. It was this summer. And he was feeling completely helpless. He had no like spiritual strength. He had no belief that he could do it. He was just feeling like total failure. He was everything was in his mind was telling him, John, you can't do it. And thoughts of giving up. And about 2 minutes, I begin to presence the feeling of honor with him. Tears are streaming down his face. And he remembers who he is for his people. And he takes a stand, which is, again, it's a little bit deeper into my work of generating this feeling of honor. And then he's got his power back and he heads back out onto the mountain. But anyway, I just wanted to share that what you're looking for here is what's worth standing for you to take on that mountain, even if you were to fail with the final destination. What would be worth standing for? Okay, so let's break this down. So you could say, what's worth standing for as like a value? So you could say, I don't know, world peace, or Hans, you might say seduction on the planet, or you could say my personal power. You could say it could be like a value, something like that. All right. And that's often that often doesn't hit you as emotionally in generating this feeling of honor. So there's two things that tend to be more powerful. One is who might be worth standing for, right? Now, if you've got a son, right? It might be worth standing for being an example of a fearless and limitless man for your son, right? It might be worth standing for being. I'm actually going to the other example. So it might be worth standing for yourself. Might be worth standing for the men in this group. Hans, it might be worth standing for your league, right? So who might it be worth standing for? It might be worth standing for that woman of your dreams, right? To take all this on, to stand for her and show up and as the man that she's been waiting for. Now, the third example is often the most powerful, and that's where you phrase it like this. It would be worth standing for being blank. So standing for being. And you could even say standing for being the one who. So as an example, it would be worth standing for being the man I dreamt I could be as a boy. Or it would be worth standing for being Hans, like for you, might be worth standing for being the founder of a new generation of men who live adventurous lives with honor or something. Now, there's no right answer here. It's about what evokes that feeling inside of you. And if you start to tear up when you feel it, then it's like, you got it, All right. So it's just something to play around with. Say it like it's worth standing for this, and then notice what you feel. Okay. Let's take a crack at it. I don't expect that you guys might have something that's going to elicit that right now, because we haven't actually gone into that first step, which is presencing the mountain and the feelings of the mountain. But let's take a crack at some possible examples. Hans, maybe you can lead us off here.
It would be worth standing for being the one men turn to when they want to master the art of seduction.
And then you notice how you feel, right?
Yeah, that gives me a warm feeling.
Yeah. And you do it after facing the mountain, right? So you can even think about it like this. It would be worth facing all of this, referencing your mountain and all those feelings. It would be worth facing all of this and potentially even failing if I was standing for being, right, the one who blah, blah, blah. There's different ways to phrase that, but notice how you feel. And then just play around with it. If we go back to my friend, my business partner, John, on that call, on that day, he talks about how the coach who was guiding this group up the mountain, he came to each one of them and like tried to push them down, like, because he was trying to teach them to stand their ground, on the mountain. And all the other people fell down, but he didn't fall. And the coach said, I want John to be my anchor. And it, made him really emotional. And he got clear in that morning. He was like, that's who I am for everyone facing diabetes and obesity. I will be their anchor. I'm here. I'm going to stay. And I'm standing for them being able to thrive. So standing for being the anchor. And it brought up all this honor inside of him. And when you have the feeling of honor inside of you, it's just like the will to act is there. The impetus to act, to create, to go forward is just like overwhelmingly there. All right, let's let's go to this next step. Okay. So once you've done step one and you have the feeling, powerful feeling. Step two, you have that powerful feeling of honor. The next step, and you don't go to this step until you've done both of those steps. The next step is vision. So this isn't mental. This isn't like an intellectual exercise. This is just once you feel the honor, like you faced that, and then now you have what we're standing for. The next thing that you say is, the more I see myself standing for blank in the face of all of that, the more I see, and you just look and see what you see, and then you write down or say that next thing that you see, and then you say again, and the more I see that, the more I see what, and the more I see that, the more I see what. And what's really powerful here is once you presence honor, it's almost like once you've faced what you haven't been facing, and you found something worth standing for, and you've responded inside of your heart, it's almost like your consciousness is identifying yourself differently. So when you look to the future, you see a man who's facing this and standing for this, and so your vision is different. And I'm not talking about a dream or an idea of your future. I'm just talking about what you expect for your future is different, and it can be extremely powerful. Anyway, I'll give you guys worksheets for this, but you just keep looking, and the more I see that, the more I see what? The more I see myself facing all of this and standing for being the one who, the more I see, and you can look to your family life, you can look to your business, you can look to and the more you see that, the more you see what? Hans, let's go back to you.
I'm making notes. Huh? It's I see now the work in like getting clarity of it.
So just in this moment, the more you see yourself facing everything that comes up,
yes,
on this journey, and standing for being the one who men call upon, to fulfill their dreams and being who they want to be, the more you see what?
The more I see love from my side, the more I see I have the strength to help transform. The more I see that, the more I see the bigger I see a group of people who are thriving. The more I see a growing, thriving group, the more I see good things creating in the world, the more I see.
Okay, Hans, let me just stop. Let me stop you there. So now, like, I don't know what you're actually seeing, and then you use words to describe what you're seeing, but it's kind of hard to see love, right? It's kind of hard to see some of the things that you were mentioning. So what you're looking for, and again, it's most powerful once you've done these two steps. What you're looking for is that whatever comes to mind when you look in that direction after you've taken these first two steps. The more I see, and you might actually see men coming to the airport in Nairobi for an amazing journey. The more you see that, the more you see, right? And then you just keep going, but you're actually looking to see what you see, and then you say what you see, or you write down what you see, and then you say, the more I see that, the more I see, and you go on.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll provide some worksheets. I'll provide some examples of the exercise for you guys. And then once you've taken these 3 steps and you have this vision that evokes this feeling of honor, that's not rooted in some idea or dream you have without having faced everything that could go wrong. It actually, when these things do go wrong, what's likely to happen is you remember who you are. You remember what's worth standing for, and you have this feeling inside. Give some more examples and things like that, Hans, but yeah, I'm looking at the time and just wondering where you guys are at with this exercise and any questions you might have about it.
Yeah, I see it to me. I'm just thinking of that it's a great practice. I would love to do it, you know. I see for myself how just seeing the steps, how the strength of my dreams or the lack thereof can largely be amended by getting clarity about it. I've been practicing a little bit about it already. I've been getting clear on my dreams, and I see very practical results. You know, I'm getting up in the morning the last couple of weeks, and I'm feeling energized all of the time. You know, I feel way more awake and on fire, and I'm getting shit done. You know, and I don't have any more. I said it on one of the calls, I think, with the group. I don't have any more like the dips. Like, even if adversity comes, I don't feel the dip. You know, I'm not discouraged. On the contrary. So yeah.
Yeah, it's this work, and this is a really simple version of the work, but this work that I do, I've done for years and years, and I do it with leaders and visionaries and people who have a tremendous responsibility, and they need to make the impossible happen on some level. Like, it's like they can't give up. They can't say, I don't feel like doing it, or whatever. It's like they need to find a way to deliver on what they promised. And so for people who taken a next level of responsibility, like really for our dreams that we mentioned here, if we don't fulfill on them, it's like it's not going to let humanity down necessarily. It's not going to necessarily like impact our neighbors or whoever else. Like it's mostly just going to impact us. So it can be easy to give up on the dream. It can be easy to turn back once it gets difficult. But just remember that what gets difficult is just a feeling. It's a feeling inside that stops us. That's what stops us. Some kind of external obstacle or thought, and then the feeling, and then we stop, right? We turn back. So what's also powerful here is as you find yourself facing what you haven't been facing, and you find yourself standing for it and taking action, you come to know yourself in a new way. It's like you used to be defined by that feeling, and then you didn't face the feeling, and you stopped. And you know yourself that way. Once you start facing and feeling and standing for the things that you haven't been doing, your consciousness identifies you in a whole new way, and it's really powerful. So yeah, invite you guys to do the exercise and enjoy check out that ebook and those first couple modules of that other course.
Is it okay? I would like to hear what this call does with people, what they're thinking of, and what resonates with them, if that's okay with you, Michael.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to speak up, go ahead. I've been taking notes, and I'm going to make a summary afterwards and do the exercise also. But I would love to know what you guys are hearing or feeling or thinking even.
I have some initial thoughts or feelings that my goal might be, as you said, kind of just for myself, so much that I can't justify it with something that it's worth standing for. Like if I want to live a life of adventure and seduction all around the world, is that only just for me? Can I say that is really making a stand for something greater? I could, if I, wanted to romanticize it, I could probably justify it, but wondering if that is a, genuine thought.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing that, Alex. What I would say is like, it's about what your heart says, man. If, I remember I was doing a lot of work like for humanity for years, right? I was doing this work, but for other people, for making a difference, for change agents and leaders and stuff. But my desires, my dreams were almost, I paid no attention to them. They were on the back burner. They were just, and one day a guy who had taken my Vision Force boot camp came into my office, and I had my walls were surrounded with whiteboards with all my visions and plans for the future, but it was all about my business and my organization. And he asked if he could erase one of the boards, and like that was my life. I was like, no, I don't want you to erase one of the boards, but I felt like he was really there for me. And then I let him erase it, and then he asked me, and he did it in the presence of a few other students that I had. But he asked me, he's like, Michael, what do you want for you? Like, what does Michael want for Michael? And I started to get like tears come to my eyes, because I hadn't even been thinking about that for myself. But it was so powerful for me to just think about that and to have someone say, like, what you want matters. What you want for yourself matters. So I just want to say that it doesn't need to be for humanity. It doesn't need to be for some cause that'll sound great to other people. It's about what makes you come alive. It's what gives you that yes, that internal yes, that feeling of honor that I talk about. So
I sense that now very clearly in me too, that I don't know, I got a conviction now that has to come first, at least for me. Like I resonate way more now with my success and abundance than saving humanity. I could sense it as you were speaking about that. I see that this has to come first.
Yeah, it's like if we start off on something that doesn't make us come alive, but someone else thinks we should do, or humanity or religion or whatever says is the right thing, there's no power in that. It has to start. From my opinion, it's our power comes from within. What our desire is, and what our heart, what our conscience says, like, this is what I'm here to do, or this is what's important for me now. And by what you feel, and so the stronger we can make these internal forces of our desire and honor and our vision, the more unstoppable we become, because we're not thinking about what everyone else thinks we should do, or what sounds good, or what's acceptable, but we're acting from that powerful felt authority from within. And that's the essence of what my work is about, is bringing people home to their inner authority and reclaiming their power in that way.
Let me ask to everyone this.
Alex, is that...
Yeah. I would like to ask...
I was going to ask...
Go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead, Alex. Okay, I was going to ask Alex if that helps.
Yeah, it certainly does. I understand that there's no point sacrificing your own real desires, in the sense that it's almost like in the airplane when they say put your own oxygen mask on first and then help others,
Yep.
I would like to ask the group if this is something that they can and want to work with.
Or how do you guys relate to it? What thoughts, questions do you have? And welcome to Jens, who's late to the call.
Sorry, yeah.
Henrik?
Yeah, I'm quite curious about this, because it's like I've been meditating for some years, and also I found something called the Sedona method. Don't know if you heard about that. It's basically lot of the same you're just saying about the feelings that actually holds you back, and that was also that's been my discovery through the meditation as well. I'm not, I've never liked this with the honor. I've never heard that before. I really like it. I really could feel it. Like actually, when you said that with a woman and stuff, and I feel like if I put that into being her hero or something like that, I really feel it. So that sort of like gives me a real strong pull inside of me. So that's just what I wanted to share. That.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's as you start to feel the power of honor, it might be something that you want to start bringing into your every morning. You know, like start the day with that, because it's like the light and warmth of the sun starting the day with just like this huge internal yes, you know, and then going out into the world and being great and being courageous and whatever is just, it's much more just natural once you start with that. You know, you wake up in the morning and you feel like shit, or you're judging yourself, or you're aware that you're already laid on everything else that everyone else wants you to do, and then we're not connected to our own power, you know. So I find it's really powerful to connect in the morning. But yeah, I really love you guys to watch that video that me and my business partner, because it's really powerful. Give you a more clear sense of like the feeling that we're talking about, and then play around with it. Give it a, you know. Right now we're just talking about it, right? So it's a concept, it's an idea, but it'd be great to have you guys feel it, you know, and get clear on what we're talking about through feeling, not as an idea. There's something in the chat.
I just wrote it there just as a note to me and you that to provide these things, the audio, the 2 modules, the ebook and this video you just talked about.
Cool. All right, Hans, I'll leave it to you if there's anything else.
I just want to say again, you know, like maybe just being around you, because you never talked to me about these 5 steps, but I did see a growing clarity on my vision. It's amazing to see. Like I learn about me, but yeah. I've experienced this power. It's fantastic to sit down and get clearer on it. Like to me, it's an invitation to do the exercise even more. You know? I just got a glimpse of it as we go over this talk, and I want to explore it. And I'll summarize it for everyone. What I think are the 5 steps, because I wrote them down.
Awesome,
Maciek,
cool.
Maciek, what are you thinking? Jens, what are you thinking? You guys are awfully quiet.
I know. I'm currently with my mind somewhere completely else. Sorry, but yeah, but like in general, I do like the idea of like really kind of like getting the energy from within myself and like really like getting clear what are my goals, and even if they seem to be impossible to reach, still go for them. Even if I fail, like if I fail, what does it mean? I just try again. Like as long as I have enough lifetime left to reach my goals, like everything is fine. That's my personal opinion.
What I'm thinking, Michael, is, sorry if I'm talking, but this seems like the trouble with vision not being empowering is because of we're not getting clear about it, and we're not really focused on it. And I'm thinking that maybe a more like mentoring, coaching approach is needed, like put our face to the problem, something like that, you know?
Well, I think it's one thing to get clear on what we want and our desires and our dreams. And that's one thing. But then actually presencing the powerful force of honor and vision is for me, it's something completely different. And, and for me, an insight can be great, but insights are not enough. They're not enough to carry us through the tomorrow when we don't feel like following through on what we said we were going to do. We don't feel like being that courageous person that we said. You know, insights are not enough. It's not enough to know what to do. You can know what to do, but what happens if you don't feel like doing it when the time comes, right? For me, it's about the feeling. That's the power. It's not the insight. It's not knowledge. It's feeling like acting on the things that you say that you want in the moment. That's what matters. And so this work is about cultivating that. I think it's about the most powerful feeling, because people will die for honor, right? And people will kill for honor. These are, you look at guys in the military or the samurai, right? It's like or the firefighters. They've staked their whole life is about who I am is a man who will risk my life for my people. Their whole life is about honor. Then they're willing to die for it. And it's so powerful. So to me, it's like I used to be a guy who's, I'm intellectual. I got lots of ideas, tons of dreams, and everything. In fact, my ideas filled up notebooks in my girlfriend's garage. And it was when I really learned to cultivate this feeling of honor that I just found myself in courageous action in the world. And so for me, the feeling is that's the force. It's not the ideas and it's not the dreams. And I think desire is a force also. Desire is a powerful feeling. But if you can add to that honor and vision, it's like.
In the book or in the audio, I forgot, but you gave the example of the fireman, and that really stood out for me because the guy whose the story was about, just by being a fireman, meaning I am a fireman now, putting on the clothes and being connected to the fireman squad, he felt compelled to save people, And so it was really by being a fireman that he felt differently in times of adversity, and that he would go into the fire because he saw himself as a fireman, which means I do this, And so it was a very powerful example, that he has the reflection of himself.
You think about 9/11, right? And the terrorists flew planes into the World Trade Center, if you believe that's what happened or whatever. I don't know, that's another story. But, the buildings are on fire, right? And everyone's coming down. Hundreds of people are coming down, many, many flights of stairs. And what they're passing is there's men going up. Everyone's in a panic for their life to escape going down. And there's individuals who are going up, right? The firefighters, the paramedics, the people they're willing to die to be the one who can save other people's lives. And that's for me, that's the force, that's the power of honor. It's like even death is smaller than that force. So if we can, to the extent, the more that we can cultivate this force in our lives, it's a powerful force to create what we want in the world. And Hans, thanks for the opportunity. Thank you guys for listening and participating. And hopefully we get to meet you in the real world. Hans and I are talking about some possible adventures next year.
So this call with part 1, and this is part 2, is a little like taste of what's possible. And we'll work with the concept of vision and honor and making a stand and honoring your commitments for the rest of the week, So what I'll do next is 2 things. I'll make a summary of this call of what I saw as the most important steps. And I'll also start gradually giving you the resources that Michael is referring to. To get more clarity and really cultivate that power, that feeling that comes with honor. Sounds good?
Thank you, Hans. Thanks, guys.
All right, gentlemen. See you later.
Later.
Bye. See you guys.
Ciao.